What's up, guys? Happy Thursday. It's just after 9:30, and you're hanging out with Johnny Gaz. How's everything going? Hope you're staying warm. It is so cold where I am right now. It is below freezing. It's been frigidly cold in upstate New York, a lot of the Northeast. After that snowstorm here this past weekend, it's been so cold. So I hope you guys are staying warm. Hope you're comfortable, and I appreciate you joining me for another session of Johnny Gaz Live. We got a lot going on again tonight. We got both Pistons and Red Wings live. We're going to get score updates for you here in just a minute. We just had a huge milestone in American hockey just take place moments ago. We're going to talk about that. We're going to hit on the Tarik Skubal negotiation, the arbitration, what may come out of that with the Tigers. We're going to talk about the comings and goings with the Lions players and coaches. So we have so many things on the docket today, and more importantly than that, I want to hear from you guys, see how everybody's doing. Hope everyone is doing well, and I appreciate you guys for joining me for another live session. Jeff, how you doing, buddy? I see you in the chat. Appreciate you getting involved early. I appreciate that very, very much. Yes, we are going live from Johnny Gaz Sports on Facebook and YouTube. The best way to help us out tonight is to hit that like button. It is the best free way to help out the stream. If you do me a favor and share it out, your feed, that will certainly help me spread the love of Johnny Gaz Sports to get more people involved, more good, like-minded people like yourself. So appreciate you guys for coming to the live. We are here every Tuesday and Thursday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Let's kick it off. Let's do it. So quick score update. We got Wings going on right now. Wings playing in LCA against the Capitals. It is a 1-1 tie with 16 minutes or so to go in the third period. Good one going on there. And like I mentioned, an historic milestone today at LCA. For that. Let's get that off there. But with two fun things happened today, actually. The Red Wings had re-signed or extended Ben Sherratt earlier this week. Veteran defenseman, hardworking defenseman. I think it's a good re-signing for the Red Wings. Well, he's actually the goal scorer today. He tied the game up in the second period, but the reason I bring it up is because Patrick Kane assisted on that goal by Ben Sherratt, and that puts Patrick Kane alone as the top U.S.-born point scorer in NHL history, passing Mike Modano. And I came out with a short earlier today on Johnny Gaz Sports on any one of your socials. If you search for @Johnny Gaz Sports, you can find this content that I'm referring to, discussing Patrick Kane and asking the question, is he the best U.S.-born hockey player of all time? I mean, when you think about the greatest hockey players of all time, of course you think of Wayne Gretzky, Sidney Crosby, a lot of great Canadians, obviously relating back to the Red Wings, Gordie Howe. But when you think about the U.S.-born players, Mike Modano obviously was on the top of that hill and now being surpassed by Patrick Kane. So I came out with a short today sort of asking that exact question: who is the best U.S.-born hockey player of all time? So let's kick it off right there, because I think this is a big moment for the NHL, especially for American hockey, and obviously for Patrick Kane, who's now been with the Red Wings for the past several seasons. He's now at 1,375 points, passing Mike Modano at 1,374. Obviously, the assist coming tonight in a 1-1 tie currently. The Red Wings and Capitals in LCA. I'll keep you posted on the score there. But I think this is huge. And I think we should celebrate it. So a little bit of background here. Kane was the first overall pick in the 2007 NHL draft, became a 3-time Stanley Cup champion. We know that. Obviously with the Chicago Blackhawks. And today he is one of the most decorated American forwards in league history. And the question now is he the best American hockey player of all time? And I'd love to hear from you guys in chat. Let me know what you think. Are you excited now that Patrick Kane has broken that record? Getting the assist tonight on Ben Sherratt's goal that brought it to 1-1 against the Capitals. And that is currently the score with just under 15 minutes to go in the third period. But Patrick Kane is also a Calder Trophy winner as Rookie of the Year. He's a Hart Trophy winner for League MVP, Conn Smythe winner for Playoff MVP, and he's one of only 5 U.S.-born players to score 500 NHL goals. Now, the argument on the other side for Modano is that he is, or at least was, a more prolific goal scorer. I think he has 561 compared to Patrick Kane's 500. Doesn't mean he can't get there if he continues to play, but will Patrick Kane continue to play past the season to get to that point? But ultimately, Mike Modano's been the benchmark for U.S. scoring. 561 goals, 813 assists, a Hall of Fame career. Kane now 37 years old, got here faster and in fewer games, and I think that's certainly worth noting. Almost 150 fewer games. Says a lot about the consistency, the longevity of both of those players. Jeff says Kane is great, but Chelly or Leach, those are two fantastic American-born defensemen. I think Chris Chelios, probably in thinking forward, a defenseman is probably the best, in my opinion, U.S.-born defenseman. I think Brian Leach is a close second. The other name that comes up, the current player that comes up, is Austin Matthews. He's kind of carrying the charge for U.S.-born players now playing. And is there potential for Austin Matthews to supersede what even Patrick Kane is doing on his current trajectory? So there's a lot of great things that sort of come out of this discussion. But ultimately, we get to kick it off today with the Wings playing the Capitals in a 1-1 tie currently. About 14 minutes to play left in the third period. And Patrick Kane now surpasses Mike Modano to become the top scorer, U.S.-born scorer in NHL history. I think that's really, really cool. Very, very cool. A great way to kick off our live today. Again, thank you guys so much for joining me. If you haven't already, make sure to say hello in the chat. Get involved early and often. I'd love to have you guys here. Jeff, thank you so much for being here today, buddy. Appreciate you guys. We're blasting off from Facebook and YouTube tonight, like we do every Tuesday and Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So the other game we got going on, obviously we got to keep you updated on that one, of the Pistons. They are playing the Phoenix Suns. They are on their Western road trip right now. It is in the second quarter, just under 11 minutes. So they just kicked off the second quarter. Detroit is down 39-31. State now just under 11 minutes to play. Phoenix up 40-33. So Detroit trying to battle back here in the second quarter. Again, I will keep you posted there. Jalen Duren leading the way with 12 points and 5 rebounds currently. Again, I will keep you posted. What's up, Jesse? How you doing? Says Kane is the GOAT. I love Finney. Do you see Pistons trading for Giannis? Spelling, sorry. Haha, no worries, buddy. Spelling Giannis, and don't even try Antetokounmpo. Took me a while to kind of get that one down. Giannis Antetokounmpo. But yes, we're going to talk about that in some detail. That's sort of where we're going. And again, Pistons currently trailing the Phoenix Suns. I have it as 40-33 with 10:30 to go in the second quarter. I'll keep you posted there. I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably been watching that game right now. But that brings up a fantastic second topic here, Jesse. A lot of trade rumors floating around the Pistons as they get closer and closer to the trade deadline, which I believe is February 5th. And the biggest name on the market is Giannis Antetokounmpo, with Milwaukee coming out and saying that they're willing to shop him or trade him. So now with where the Pistons stand, being at the top of the East, a lot of folks would say that they're a scorer or a big player away from being true title contenders. And obviously Giannis would be the superstar to pair with Cade Cunningham. So there's a few questions there. Is going after Giannis the right call for the Pistons where they're at currently? Because you'd have to give up a lot of capital in return to make a move like that happen. Giannis has also been injured this season, so you're taking that on, as well as a monster salary if you're looking to extend him. So would that really be the best move? And I just don't think it is. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't think you go and make that move. I think there's a lot of cohesion with the current roster, and I think there's more tweaks that you could make, or even addition by subtraction, you could even say, that might help this team more than making that splash move for Giannis. So that was another short I can come out with this morning. Again, on Johnny Gaz Sports. If you search for any of your social networks at Johnny Gaz Sports, you will find free Detroit content every single day. And today we had both Pistons and Red Wings content put out. And this morning's Pistons content was exactly that. That I know the Pistons, in my opinion, need a shooter, an additional shooter of some kind, or need to generate better shooting from the current mix that they have, or at least more consistent. But in my opinion, they need to go out and add an additional shooter, but that doesn't mean Giannis. That doesn't solve what I'm looking to solve. I think it would complicate things more down the road. So to me, you don't make the Giannis trade. I think you make what could be a lot of smaller moves to really put yourself in title contention. Don't know Gritcha's Antetokounmpo. No. Fantastic. That's fantastic. And that one deserves much, my man. I appreciate you. Don't know Grit in the house. Had him on a few weeks ago. Matt, I appreciate you, buddy. And you are putting out fantastic content here recently. Not just saying that to blow smoke at you, but you are daily Detroit Lions content, news, updates, breaking news right there. Don't miss out at Don't Know Grit, Facebook, YouTube, all your socials. Make sure to go check them out. Appreciate you, buddy. But yeah, we're talking Pistons trade rumors. Obviously, the Giannis rumors floating around. Let me know in chat. Do you guys think they should pull the trigger with something like that? Trajan Langdon, should he make that sort of move to set the Pistons up for what could be a dominant duo? But does it sacrifice other pieces and other things that would potentially carry this team through the East and maybe to a title, but does it ultimately win them a title? And that's really the deciding factor. So I want to hear from you guys and see where you're at. If you were in the Pistons position, would you trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo and make this thing a dynamic duo, or do you roll with the current roster? Is there a small move out there that you say the Pistons should make to make them a true title contender? I want to hear from you guys. Because think about it, guys. For Giannis, we're not talking like a bench player, not a bench player swap. We're talking multiple first-round picks through the next half decade, plus some young assets. I mean, do you want to give up Ausir Thompson, Ron Holland, Jaden Ivey, Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duren? I mean, those are all potential necessaries for a trade like that, and that's a scary thought, especially with a Jalen Duren. I wouldn't want to lose him at all. I think he is a budding superstar. He means a lot to this team. I think it would mean a lot to give up that chemistry. So some mock packages include 4 first-rounders and several swaps. Basically, the whole future of the franchise on the table for an aging star. And that's what you would be doing by going to get Giannis. So I really want to hear from those that would support this and the reasons why. Jesse Spence says he agrees. Don't know says this team wins because of their chemistry on the court. Adding a scorer doesn't help if it costs you critical pieces. I agree with that. I agree. I wouldn't want to mess with the mix too much. I think I might be willing to give up one of those pieces if it meant a true shooter that spaces the floor better, allows Cade a little breathing room. He can work better with more spacing. So I'm up for that, but I agree with you. You cannot give up the critical pieces that would mess with the chemistry. So that's a great point. Jeff says we can get a shooter using our trade exemption. All right, so who's out there that we could get with that exemption? I'd love to know. 31 years old Giannis can opt out of his contract in 2027 and become a free agent. So again, is it really even long-term? Is he healthy this year? And you're mortgaging the next 7, 8, 10 years, almost a decade worth for maybe 2 or 3 prime seasons. Ow, I just hurt my finger. Holy smokes. Oh, we're good. Oh. But yeah, that's the trade-off there. I don't know if that's a sustainable strategy. So I'm not in the market for Giannis. I'd rather roll with what we have. I'd like to see them make a move, but I'd rather roll with what we have than go with the Giannis side of things. Jesse says, I think we could do a trade, but only trading one first-round pick in Ivy for another guy. These young guys could make the Pistons contenders for a few years yet. Ivy's the guy, in my opinion, that keeps coming up to where I might be okay with moving on. I don't want to lose Jaden Ivey. I think you still need to allow him some time coming off of that injury to fully be back and in the mix. But I just think you're going to give up something to get something. And that would be the player I'd be willing to sacrifice. Jeff says OKC has 7 first-round picks in the next 3 years. Oof, wow. Yeah, they can move some things with that. That's scary. But yeah, Giannis has these reoccurring calf issues. So even in trading for him, no matter what team gets them, they got to be concerned with his current health status. Lower leg concerns, not a good situation for a player of his stature. That's what I would worry about for any team that picks him up. So again, it's not a certainty that even bringing him on, truly puts that team over the edge. Jeff says if we don't trade Ivy now, we're stuck with him. You're right. I mean, value is lost at a certain point. I don't think the Pistons coach JB Bickerstaff wants to mess with him. I don't know that. This is my opinion. I don't know if he wants to bring on Giannis to then have to deal with. Think about the team he's dealing with now versus the team you'd have to deal with Giannis there. It's just a whole different ball game. No pun intended. Building continuity, the chemistry back again, that takes time. And I think a real big move like that mid-season, when you're already top of the East, that's a tough. You wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be mad at the organization if they went and did it. I'll say that. I'm not going to be upset if they went and got Giannis. I would be shocked. I'd be surprised, and I'd really be like, "Who did you give up to do so?" So I wouldn't be mad at it, but I would question the long term. And I would really say, okay, you better win this year. You better win in the next 2 years. Otherwise, this thing was for nothing. So that's where I would sort of leave the Giannis conversation. I don't think the Pistons will make that sort of move. I don't think Langdon's the type of character that will do a splash like that. And I just think it changes a lot of their current routine too much. I think it's just the cost would be too extreme. Both for the pick side of things and for the young talent they'd have to give up. Obviously, the injury risk of Giannis. Pistons, I think, are better off enhancing the current core that they have. I really do. Versus gutting it for a one-man splash. So that's really where I'll leave it there with Giannis. And Jesse, I agree with you. JB Coach of the Year locked. I'm with you. Let's see how they finish. If they continue to roll and they stay on top of the East, then I think you're right. I think he is a lock. Here we go. Truth Teller says because Detroit teams are scared to make the big move, and it led to nothing. So, here, look, Truth Teller, we discussed this a lot with the Lions side of things here, is ultimately the Brad Holmes decision or non-decision to bring in a splash move or go get the edge opposite Hutchinson. That was always the big talk. So I'm with you, and I understand where you're coming from, is that if you're not willing to make any sort of move or you stand pat, then how do you expect change to happen? How do you expect to take the next step? There is an argument to be made there, Truth Teller, so I don't disagree with you. I would still sit here and say, as far as the current Pistons team, what I see, I wouldn't bring in Giannis. Now, if you're talking Lions, I'm okay with trying to make a splash move this offseason. And I've said that. I'm not hiding from that. It's not something new I've come up with just based on your statement today, Truth Teller, but I'm with you. Jeff says Pistons have an aggressive owner. Let's see. Let's see how aggressive they're willing to get. Let's see how aggressive they're willing to get. I mean, there's something on the table. But I think the other side of this too, I mean, if again, going back to Giannis, is like, would Milwaukee want to trade within the division, basically within the side? I wonder who they'd be willing to go with as a trade partner. That's kind of the other side of this, is Milwaukee has a say. So let's check back in. Pistons right now trailing the Suns. I have it at 5:44 left in the second. Suns up 53-42. Again, I will keep you guys posted on the results of both the Pistons and the Wings. Unfortunately, Washington did go up against the Wings here. They are now 2-1, just under 10 minutes to go in the third. Dylan Strom from Alex Ovechkin there in the third period, and Washington now up 2-1 against the Red Wings. So I'll keep you posted on those two games as they are ongoing here during our live session. Again, I appreciate you guys getting involved in the chat. Thank you so much for coming to Johnny Gaz Live Tuesday and Thursday nights at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Heavy focus on Lions. Obviously on Thursdays, we go around the D. We're talking the current live scene. We got Pistons and Red Wings ongoing, and I'll always bring that to you. More importantly, we are just having fun in the chat, and we got some good topics today. I think we should transition over to the Tigers as the other couple games are wrapping up. Let's take a couple minutes and talk about the Skubal situation, and many of you might be tired of it. It could be a little bit of old news, but the truth is this is not yet resolved, and it is really, it's fascinating to me more than anything to wonder how they're going to figure out which way to go. How this arbitration process is going to play out is going to be fascinating. What's up, Lupe? How you doing? Says, what's good, Johnny? Any info on the new tight end? Yeah, they picked up. Okay, so all right, I'll go back because it's a great question, Lupe. They picked up a Bears practice squad tight end. I'm not thrilled with the move. This is not going to move the needle. Thomas Gordon, a tight end from the Bears. Guy from Northwestern, didn't play for the Bears this season, was on their practice squad, and then they didn't bring him back. So Lions went and took a chance on him. Obviously, young guy, was experienced in college, had a lot of time, 6-year player. Not a real receiving threat, probably more of a blocking tight end. We know they have to rebuild their tight end room. They have Sam Laporta, they have Brock Wright under contract. So you got to like those two tight ends, but they're going to have to bring in more. Number one, because Sam Laporta and his injury, you don't know what you're going to get out of that. And with the scheme, I think they're going to want to run. They need 4 tight ends, just on the roster alone. So this guy's going to compete for a back-end roster spot more than anything, Lupe. That's where I see that. True Teller says, we're talking about a chance to add a top 15 player of all time, 2-time MVP, and a champion. Is having, say, Asor for maybe 10 years worth more than having Giannis for 4 or 5 years with Cade? It's a great question. It's a good argument, and you might be right. I can't sit here and say you would be wrong, that wouldn't bring them success. And if it does bring them success, True Teller, then maybe that is the smart move. Giannis is a generational player. You're right. But he might be towards the back end now, and you are having to sacrifice. It's not just a SOAR. You know what I'm saying? It would be a lot more than that. It's a lot of draft picks. It's a lot of capital long term. So 4 or 5 years with those two, but then what I would argue back is, okay, then you're saying probably after that 7 or 8 years of tough recovery. But again, who's to say? Talking Tigers breaks my heart, says Jeff. Mike wanted a World Series. Chris is not his father. No, he's not. No, I'll stay away from the ownership side, but that obviously plays a part in what I'm talking about here with Skubal. Here's the situation for those who don't want to be as knowledgeable about this, because the arbitration process and off-season contracts and the way this all works out with these high-priced agents, it's a lot, and it can take people away from the love of baseball. But here's the situation with Skubal. Skubal filed for $32 million per season for 2026. Okay, that's what he's seeking, $32 million for the 2026 season. The Tigers countered at $19 million. So there is a $13 million gap there. The largest disparity that's ever been seen in arbitration filings. There isn't even a middle ground, and an arbiter must pick one or the other. That's the goal here. That's how stupid this process works for arbitration in the Major League Baseball, is that a panel of arbiters are going to come together and try to figure out, should Skubal play for $19 million this season or $32 million this season? But it seems like both sides came at this looking to avoid any sort of true negotiation, right? Because there didn't seem to be any budging on either side. Most teams go through what they say a file and trial process, basically, or a policy where they just file their arbitration. This is what we're willing to go with, and then they're not going to negotiate anymore. And that's sort of been the Tigers' way of doing business. So they're not willing to negotiate or refusing to negotiate their offer. And obviously from the Skubal side of things, with the high-priced Scott Boras, I mean, they're looking to advance something else, right? I mean, they're trying to make a bigger point in this and really reset the market for Major League Baseball arbitration. I mean, you have to remember, guys will come behind Skubal that will then be negotiating contracts behind him. So Paul Skeens is the guy that comes to mind in these conversations, is that eventually he's also going to end up in arbitration. And the higher number that Skubal gets, in essence, the more potential Paul Skeens has to make. I mean, that's a very simplified way of putting it, but that's really what this comes down to. It changes how elite pitchers will be valued through this arbitration. And Skubal's not just a good pitcher. Obviously, he's back-to-back Cy Young. So this is kind of a unprecedented thing. So if for some reason he wins arbitration and he gets to $32 million, it not only sets a record for arbitration, but it sets the future market. And that's really what I think the Boras and Tarik Skubal camp are coming from here. Jeff says it's insulting, $19 million. I mean, I think it is, in a sense, Jeff, that they had to know kind of what his value was. Now, what I would go back to, if you remember pitcher David Price, I think this was around 2015, 2016, somewhere in there, a similar arbitration happens. And I think they came to the table at like 19.75. I think the Tigers did. So it shows that they're willing to go there, but they weren't willing to go there with Skubal, who you could argue is a much more decorated pitcher, higher valued pitcher. But they came at it with $19 million and were not willing to budge. So I agree with you. I think it's almost embarrassing from both sides' perspective. And I have come out with content that said this before, but it's like a deal was never going to really be on the table. So really the fascinating part of this is, what does the arbitration process of Major League Baseball do here? Because if they side with the Tigers, you're basically screwing over future player contracts. But if you side with the player, you are agreeing to reset this market for all of these future contracts. And really, as a Tigers fan, the thing you got to be pissed about more than anything else is it feels like it puts the Tigers in this holding pattern where they can do nothing because they have to figure out what the arbitration is going to say. And if they lean $32 million, then they will have less money to go out and make other moves. Versus if it's 19, then they know they have money to play with to go make other moves. But until that happens, it's like everybody's at a standstill. So it's damn on Skubal and his camp for putting them in that position, coming at it with this truly high number that you knew the Tigers were never going to meet. But damn the Tigers for coming at it with only 19 million, knowing that he's worth so much more. And if that was the case, the Tigers could still trade him. But what does that say to your fan base? You know, and really what's even crazier to think about is if, however they settle this, when he goes to the mound every fifth day now in 2026, if he's still with the Tigers, which I think he's going to be, it's going to be weird. Every victory that he has, it's just going to be marred with weirdness. Because you know he's not coming back. If the Tigers aren't willing to budge on 19 million, they're not going to pay him the salary he's going to be owed as a free agent after the 2026 season. So to me, this is like no man's land, especially for Tigers fans, and it sucks. I'll say it like it is. It sucks. Jesse says, I wish I could be offered 19 million to throw a baseball maybe twice a week, but I understand it's business. Jesse, I'm with you. It stinks because obviously you're living well at 19 million or 32 million a year. And it stinks, but that it's the business side of it makes a lot of sense. And for a guy, again, you go back to a guy like Paul Skeens. I mean, he's sitting back going, no way can they pay him only 19. Can they only pay Skubal $19 million? No way. Because what does that mean for Skeens' worth? I think it's a great discussion, but it stinks for the heart of baseball and really for the Tigers and what they're trying to do next season. I think that you're right, Jeff. He doesn't have the same trade value. Tigers screwed this up, especially now that they know where they're at. I mean, they really should have probably looked at this. You're right, a long time ago, Jeff. You're right. So is it really on Tigers ownership and that group then for not pulling the trigger with this when they should have? I mean, they have had to have had tons of discussions before it got to this point. They had to have known how far off they were. So why not then try to make something happen? But, you know, it's all about keeping butts in seats at Comerica Park, and having Skubal pitching every fifth day next year will keep people's butts in those seats, regardless of what the contract situation is, because most people want to go and watch good baseball. And when Skubal's on the mound, it's good baseball. Most people don't go to the baseball games thinking about Skubal's contract. They don't. I mean, you think they do, but they don't. 89% of the people sitting in that stadium have no idea what's going on with this arbitration process. So it's from a Tigers perspective, from an organizational side, sometimes it's just about keeping the stands full, and they can do that for one more year without having to trade away Skubal. But I'm with you, Jeff. Skubal's camp wants the dominance. They want to redefine the pitcher market. Detroit doesn't want to back down and set what they see as a dangerous precedent. But in doing that, the Tigers have basically handcuffed themselves. And they're going into a season that they could be going all in with, but it seems like they can't now. And that's unfortunate. So that will do it for the Tigers talk here today. Let's go check on our Wings and Pistons right now. Unfortunately, the Wings have fallen further behind. Washington up 3-1 now, closing in on 2 minutes to play in the third period. Declan Chisholm with a goal, putting Washington up 3-1 here at 14:44 in the third period. So Red Wings will really have to battle back to get this one. But again, the big news from this game, I think, is that Patrick Kane surpasses Mike Modano, coming the highest scoring U.S.-born player in NHL history, and I think that is a very cool feat. Again, there is content on Johnny Gaz Sports that came out this morning outlining that exact thing. So definitely go check it out at Johnny Gaz Sports on any one of your socials for Detroit sports content every single day. Appreciate you guys for joining me live. We're going to check in on the Pistons right now. I have the Pistons also trailing as they get close to the end of the first half. Ouch. Phoenix up 71-54, just under a minute to play in the first half. Pistons will also have to battle back in the second half of this one. Again, I will keep you posted as we move about this broadcast so you will know where the Pistons stand. 72-54 now. JD leading the way for the Pistons with 17 points and 6 rebounds. Cade Cunningham with 5 assists. And we will see if the Pistons can work themselves back into this one. Cheers, everybody. Keith says, happy for Kane, but would have been even better if we won. I agree. I hate when these milestones are marred with non-victories, and it's now 2 in a row. He ties them, and they lose. He passes them, and it looks like they're going to lose. So I'm with you, Keith. That stinks. And what may be worse than that is you hate to see the Wings start to slide a little bit. Looks like Edvinson, they put on injured reserve. They shuffled some guys around from Grand Rapids. So I hope that's not more long-term than they expected. And I hope it doesn't hurt their blue line as much as it seems to be. So we'll keep our ears to the ground on that one. Jesse says, joke, heck, bring in Jim Schwartz as the new GM for the Tigers. Ugh, shucks, I blame Jason Josh for the jinx. Yeah, they did. What are they doing at Ford Field? What's going on there? What's happening with that? Booker, I know. There's no Booker. That's what I'm saying. That's not good, Jesse. And on Tuesday, they kind of beat a depleted Denver team. So again, as high-flying as the Wings and Pistons were there for several weeks, things are starting to kind of come back to reality. So again, we're going to keep our eyes and ears to the ground. I will keep you posted here on Johnny Gaz Sports. We'll have all the news, notes, and updates for both those teams as they get to the second half of their seasons. Keith says they scored. The Wings did score. So 3-2 now. You're right, bud. Thanks for the update. Dylan Larkin. Nope. Had a shot block there just a second ago. The Cat. Another big day for the Cat. Assist by Dylan Larkin and Andrew Kopp. 18-20 of the third period. Wings now within a goal with time ticking down. I hope you guys are watching the game right now because I am live. I don't have it on my screen, but I will keep the game cast on as we go here. Wings get within one with a DeBrincat goal late in third period. Good stuff. Appreciate you, Keith and Jesse. Keep me posted. I like that a lot. Yeah, if they could somehow swing this one, that'd be nuts. Let's do it for Patrick Kane. Come on, let's do it for Patrick. Let's do it for his big night. Again, Wings down a goal here real late in the third period. We're just kind of waiting to see what happens. Hopefully they can pull off a miracle. Keith will drink some blue Kool-Aid together if they can get this done. Yeah, Jeff, I'm with you. Says Wings are ready for the break. They understand Grand Rapids is on a heater. Yeah. Well, that's why I think they're willing to shuffle a couple things around. You know what I mean? Although let's not mess with the cohesion there either. But at the same time, it's all about the big club. And look, with the way that last season went, the end of last season, and all the hope that they kind of got from fans, and I just think they can't have another second half where they fall off. So I'm really keeping my fingers crossed here for the Wings. I miss Fox Sports Detroit too, Jesse. Gosh, it stinks. It's harder even because I'm out of market. I'm upstate New York. Now, I obviously purchased the NFL ticket. I got to have all my NFL games with the Lions. I'm not going to miss that. But I can't afford to purchase the NBA pass and the NHL pass as well. So I got to find it where I can. 3-3. They did it. They did it. The Cat again. Are you kidding me? DeBrincat scores with 19:08 to go. It's 3-3. The Wings. What is happening? Keith, you pulled a miracle. Keith, you can't leave now. Don't leave me. What's going on here? You guys, I don't have it on live. So if things happen and I'm not seeing it, you got to keep me. Let's go. Let's go. Let's take this to OT. Let's go. Dude, that's nuts. The Cat is just rolling right now. Oh, that's awesome. They did, Keith. They did. 3-3. No. you do that to me? Don't do that to me. Yeah. ESPN's messing with my head. They're messing with my head. I swear, it was 3-3. I refreshed it. It went back to 3-2. And then now it's 3-3 again. So you guys got to help me out. No, it's 3-3. It's 100% 3-3. I got it. I would have ended the live, guys, if I just celebrated at 3-3 and then find out I was completely wrong. I would just end the live. Johnny Gaz Sports would be over, be done with. 3-3 now. Although you guys got to keep me posted as this clock ticks down. Let me know if it gets in overtime. Okay, Josh and Jace is not a jinx. We don't know yet. They might have saved the season. Fantastic. The Brinket saving the day with 2 goals in the last 3 minutes of play. Hopefully we'll take this game to overtime. Let's see what happens here. Wow, that's incredible. Keith, you called it, man. Robert Murphy, what's up, Robert? Yeah, it's the Cancun stream. I haven't even mentioned Cancun yet. We haven't gotten to Cancun yet. I was going to save that towards the end. We're talking Detroit sports and we get rolling. That's what happens here on Johnny Gaz Sports, baby. That's right, Keith. We did it. Let's keep rolling, though. It's not over yet. It's not over till it's over. Now I'm like a refreshing maniac right now. I have other topics, but now I just need to know what's happening with the Wings. What happens? I got it at 30 seconds left. 3-3. It's great. This is crazy. This is great. This is excellent. Yeah, we got good topic coming up here, Robert. We're going to talk about Cancun. I got a trip coming up here very short. Actually, I got one more day left to work. It's going to be great. Yeah, let's get these 2 points. Let's wrap this up. Can somebody answer if they pulled the goalie for that last goal, or was that full strength? I got Alex to bring it on a wrist shot from Mo Sider. It did not say that a goalie was pulled, but I don't have it on live, so I'm getting the game cast version of it. But fantastic. Wings coming back. They're going to OT now. End of the third period. They come roaring back. The Cat with 2 goals in under 3 minutes to bring the Wings to 3-3. We will keep you guys posted as they go into overtime. What a game. On a day where Patrick Kane passes Mike Modano and becomes the best scorer in U.S. hockey history. What a great day for the Wings. Let's hope they can cap this off for us. What a great way to battle back. Even to get a point here would be successful. So great day for the Wings there. Let's see if the Pistons can get something rolling now too. Let's get this positive momentum going on Johnny Gaz Sports. Let's go. Yes, Kane and OT. Let's have them cap it. That would be storybook right there. That'd be excellent. Yeah, we scoreboard watch. That's what we're doing. Yeah, they love their OT games. Don't know. They love going to OT. They've been good in OT. So let's see if they can pull it out yet again. So at the half now for the Pistons, let's get an update there. Pistons trailing the Suns 72-56. Yikers. They're going to have to pick it up here in the second half. Kind of a rough second quarter for the Pistons there. They were outscored 37-25 in the second quarter. Right now, Jalen Duren leading the way with 17.7 rebounds, Cade with 5 assists. So we'll have to check in on that one here in the second half, see if the Pistons can get something going. Right now, we are following the Wings, though, who have battled back 3-3, going overtime. Let's see if they can light the lamp one more time in LCA and bring this thing home. Now, they don't want Kano and no shootout. You know, he's pulling some trickery. So, again, we'll keep our eyes on the Wings game here. So, if anything happens, you guys let me know. I'll try to keep the scoreboard up. But let's get into my Lions topic. I don't want to not get into my Lions here today because then we got the fun at the end we want to get into. I'm going to get you that answer. Hold on. Yeah, Pistons are a good second half team. I think they can battle back. So, we'll keep our eyes on that one as well. Somebody answer it is Gibson. Gibson is in net. So 20 saves. Obviously 3 goals against today. So not bad, but I don't know. He hasn't been as good in the last couple games than he seemed to be the few weeks prior. But again, just let's celebrate the fact that they battled back in this one. But yeah, it is John Gibson in net. OT just kicked off. Thank you, Keith. So, an interesting Lions topic today. I thought coming out of the Amon-Ra St. Brown podcast, which we've had some fun with in past shows. A lot of fun quotable things come out of that podcast. Well, another fun quote came out of this most recent episode. They talked with 49ers linebacker Fred Warner, who it's had a lot of topics. It's actually a real good watch. If you get a second and go take in that podcast, I thought it was entertaining. But one of the topics that was brought up was when Fred Warner weighed in on how the Lions run their practices. Him and Amon-Ra had discussed kind of how Detroit still does full tackle live contact in training camp. And it was something that San Francisco, I guess, doesn't do. Warner's quote was pretty clear. He says, at some point, old Dan's going to come to his senses. We can still get our work in without bringing guys to the ground. That's not a paraphrase. That's straight from the podcast. Now, why is that a thing, or why do we care? And I think we care because the Lions' track record of injuries over the past several seasons. They have been decimated a lot more than other teams, especially on the defensive side of the football, with injuries. And we know Dan Campbell's whole identity as a coach, it's built around grit, physicality, tough practices. I mean, when you would watch the Hard Knocks when they were kind of first coming about the program, I mean, that was what this was built on. I mean, he wants to prepare like it's Sunday, and he thinks that makes his team better. And there's a lot of evidence that would support that. But I think in today's NFL, and now knowing what has happened to these Lions teams over the last several seasons with these injuries, it's been very difficult for them to even field 11 starters. Yeah, I mean, the Lions have been one of the most injury-plagued teams in the NFL the last few seasons. And it's just, it's not something I'm making up. It's just proof. It's fact. So you kind of got two things kind of rubbing up against each other here on this one. A coach that believes that live contact sort of builds the essence of your football team. And then there's critics from the outside, which now seems to include Fred Warner, saying that same approach kind of exposes players to injury more so than needed. And that NFL practices could be just as effective without some of that major contact happening. And I'm not throwing shade at the Dan Campbell program. I'm not trying to tell them how to do their business or what ultimately builds a man and a football player, because they've built this program off of that mentality. But I do think some adjustments have to be made, and there's a way to cultivate the scheme and some of the health-related things that might help you long-term. But if they really want to be a legitimate contender, they can't have the injury situation they've had late in the season. I mean, there's going to be injuries. You can't avoid them. That's the NFL. But the amount of injuries, the consistency of having the injuries has to change. I mean, it's a real debate. I mean, the football debate is, are we preparing our players to win without breaking them in, right? I mean, that's an old school mentality. That's what I grew up when I played football. It was you break the player down to build them up, and it doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't. Everybody's personality is different. But the point is, that's old school football, and it's proven in general that builds character and it builds teams. But is that old school physicality now putting the team's best players on the shelf more than they really need them to be, and ultimately hurting a chance at a championship and a title because of some of these program ways? What's up, Paul Jones? How you doing, buddy? Says St. Brown asked him about the power plant at the Niners facility causing injuries. Warner got defensive and deflected to talking crap about Dan. His pissy opinion means nothing given the context. Yeah, I mean, spoken from a injured player himself, but a guy that knows a winning program. And the coaches within the San Francisco program know what they're doing. I mean, the lineage there speaks for itself. Shanahan. So I do respect what a guy like that says. You're right. Maybe the way it came out doesn't seem, I'm not going to put a ton of weight into it. Let's put it that way, Paul. I'm not expecting Dan Campbell to give two shoots about what Fred Warner had to say on Amon-Ra St. Brown's podcast. It's not going to change how they do business. But what I do expect, and I hope that the program looks at what they are doing and says, okay, this is what's led to these results. What can we do to change this that gets us above where we've been? That doesn't necessarily mean changing your whole routine, but there has to be a healthier way to do business. So I would expect that the smart minds that Dan Campbell has and everybody within that program can figure that out. And I think it just brings it to light. I think a story like this opens up the conversation. I mean, I don't have to sit here and hide the fact that they've been more injured than most teams. So San Francisco doesn't do it, but they had more injuries than us. I mean, that's a fair point. That's a fair point, Jeff. I mean, this year especially, obviously San Francisco was hit by the injury bug, but that program still was able to make the playoffs. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I would kind of throw that back at you a little bit too. It's like they did have injuries, and the argument could be made, well, that program didn't work and they were hurt as well. But that program worked well enough to get them to the playoffs even after those injuries. So I would take that. Playing some in the preseason, waiting for the second or third game to get going. Jeff, that I think is a great point. And I never loved the fact that Dan will go as hard as possible in joint practices and in training camp, but then not play any of the starters at all in the preseason. I think game one offensive struggles, not only this last year against the Packers, but the year prior when they played Matt Stafford in the Rams in week one. And yes, they won that game in overtime. But if you remember, that offense was stagnant in that week one matchup. I relate all of that back to not playing in the preseason. Jeff, I think that's a really good point. And I'd love to see that be a little bit of the shift there. Pull back a little bit, just a little bit on the intensity in training camp and allow them to play just a little bit in the preseason. Just a little bit. Detroit fan man in the house. How you doing, brother? Says this is a causation correlation problem. There's no proof either way. The argument is soft tissue injuries are up since two-a-days disappeared. Smells like coincidence to me. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I think why I bring this up today is that conversation between those two players and the interaction between Fred Warner and Amon-Ra St. Brown, to me, it's eye-opening, and it allows me to look at two completely different situations. Two good programs doing it different ways, leading to similar or different results depending on the season. So you're right, Detroit fan man. Employee says job should be easier. Fred Warner saying you shouldn't tackle in practice. Yeah, that's always, that was always an argument when I was in high school. This was back 03, 04, or I'm sorry, 01 to 03. And life was different back then as far as football practice was concerned. I should have took Minnesota ML. All right, so we've now moved to a shootout. OT's over. We did not get a goal in overtime. We are now at the start of the shootout. Again, 3-3 tie. Let's keep us posted here, Keith, to see how this goes. That program has a better defense coordinator, Robert Saleh. You are right. You are correct. Don't know grit. Now, that is a huge piece to this Lions offseason. I'm not saying anything about the Lions changing their defensive coordinator. I think they're locked in with Shep. Now, could they bring in some additional help for their defensive staff? I could see that happening. So we'll talk about that in future episodes. But I think really what I took out of watching the NFC and AFC championship games more than anything else, in comparison to what the Lions have, was the fact the Lions just don't have anywhere close to the defense that the Patriots or the Seahawks are bringing to the table. And those two defenses were able to carry so-so offenses through the playoffs when they had to. They were able to, Seattle was able to get splash plays, and Drake May was able to make plays with his legs. So those were kind of the difference makers offensively for those two squads. But we know the Lions have the offensive firepower. They got to revamp their offensive line, but really they have what they need offensively. It's more about what can they add defensively to make this Lions team have some sort of identity that is consistent defensively throughout the season and into the playoffs. That's going to make the difference. A elite defense will carry even a so-so offense through the playoffs. Weaker schedule, Jeff. Yeah, absolutely. Lions will have a much weaker schedule. Patriots had an amazingly weaker schedule this year. It's incredible. I think the stat I saw for the Patriots, they played 11 teams this year on their schedule that now do not have a head coach or had to replace their head coach. So that just tells you how bad their schedule really was. Halftime's over with the Pistons game, so they are now back and running. Again, we're watching the shootout just to see what's going on with the Wings. Again, I'm not watching it live, guys, so we'll have to see. Let's see, we got a full play-by-play here. It's 2-2 now in the shootout. Lucas Raymond had a goal. Dylan Strom had a goal. Patrick Kane had a goal. Ryan Leonard had a goal. Dylan Larkin. Off the crossbar, Nick Dowd, a goal on the backhand, which gave the Washington Capitals the win in the shootout. Unfortunately, Washington pulls it out. Captain Dylan Larkin had a chance there to go up in the shootout. He hits the crossbar. Nick Dowd comes in, gets a goal on the backhand, and Washington wins the shootout and the second point. So the Wings did battle back. I think you got to give them a little bit of credit there. Alex DeBrincat, thank you for making this an exciting evening for us. We had a lot of fun celebrating that comeback. So thank you, Keith, for keeping us posted. I appreciate you, buddy. But the Wings do end up losing this matchup to the Washington Capitals 4-3 in a shootout after battling back in the third period. So tough one for the Wings there. But, hey, they battled back. They got a point. So give them a little bit of credit on that one. Pistons now in Phoenix. They're trailing 74-63 with just about 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. We'll now keep our eyes on that one as we move through the end of our live. Again, I appreciate you guys for getting involved. Thanks for everyone for being in the chat today. If you haven't already, make sure to slap the like button. It's the best free way to help me out. If you share the stream to your feed, you can get more like-minded people like us involved in the chat, and I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Paul Jones says, I can totally see us getting a free agent center, re-sign Muhammad, and actually draft another tight end. It's kind of Brad's MO. Do you think they'll re-sign Muhammad, Paul? Do you think they can make a price match with him? Are they willing to pay Muhammad what I think he's going to want? That's my tough part with that one. I would like to have him back. I think the Lions' depth with the edge would be solidified if they could bring him back, but it's all a Price is Right situation. I do think they're drafting a tight end at some point. And I would also like them to bring in a center, a veteran center. Linderbaum would be ideal. There's a couple other options out there if that's not a possibility. Rob says a good backup quarterback, one that runs the ball, not just seat in the pocket. Yeah, Rob, I mean, that's an argument now that's been had. I compared Goff to Drake May to Sam Darnold in a recent short here at Johnny Gaz Sports. If you want to go take a look at that at any one of your socials, that's available for free at any time. But I really compared Jared Goff and what his statistics were compared to Sam Darnold and Drake May in 2025. And what we found out is it's certainly not about the stats, and the mobility is a huge part of this. Drake May proves that you can put a team on your back, you can put an offense on your back, and carry in a tough conditions AFC Championship game using your legs and using your smarts. And he was able to do that. Jared Goff doesn't have that ability as far as his legs, but Jared Goff is an extremely smart quarterback. And if he's surrounded by the right pieces, I think what's proven is that he can win. For Jared Goff, it's about getting over the hump of the big game. Can he remain consistent in the biggest of games when it matters the most to get to and win a Super Bowl? He's been there, he just hasn't won it. And obviously needs to bring this Lions team to the promised land. Nice, Keith. Won the bet at +1.5. Way to take it at the right time. That's always the way to watch it. No worries, no worries. Tom Brady was fast. No, he was not fast at all. That's the thing. And look, Joe Montana, Tom Brady. I mean, there's many examples. I mean, more statuesque quarterbacks winning than none. But to me, that's not what it's about. In a lot of cases, it's about what have those teams surrounded that quarterback with to make them winners. And I think Jared Goff has the ability to be a winner. It's about the Lions piecing this together to where they're going to set him up for success again. And I think it's going to happen. I also want to mention, before we leave the Lions topic and Dan Campbell, because I don't want to beat up Dan Campbell. Here's the thing. Another article came out recently. A list, basically. ESPN senior analyst Bill Barnwell had come out with a list of basically the best coaching hires over the last 5 years. And at the top of the list was Motor City Dan Campbell. And it came with a little bit of controversy because you had guys like Nick Sirianni in that list that were behind Dan Campbell. But the point is, a well-respected ESPN journalist felt like Dan Campbell was the best new head coach hire of the past 5 years because it's really changed this Lions program. He explains his reasoning like this. Campbell's transformational impact, not just his win percentage, sets him apart. Yes, other coaches on the list have higher winning percentages or even Super Bowl hardware, but the narrative here is foundation over flash. ESPN even posed a thought experiment. If you had to pick the one coach most likely to still be with his team 15 years from now, who would it be? Their pick was Dan Campbell, the face of the Lions franchise. So basing off of that, it really isn't always about the hardware. And considering where this Lions program was before Dan Campbell took over, 14-33-1, hadn't won a playoff game since 1991. It was a broken organization. We know that. It's been broken for some time, and there's been glimpses, but it's never been fixed, truly. But alongside general manager Brad Holmes and a few other key pieces, they helped rebuild this roster from the ground up through the draft. Obviously, the trade with Matthew Stafford, which brought Jared Goff here, essentially crafting a new competitive identity for the Detroit Lions. And that's remained true from 2021 through 2025. Even with missing the playoffs at 9-8, that identity is still there. And you heard Dan Campbell in his after the season press conference talk about even getting more back into that identity. Not wanting to lose any part of that, because it seemed like some pieces of it might have been fading away. And some people, I don't want to call it complacency because it seems harsh to say that, but when you feel that in the building, I think that's the kind of thing you hear your coach say. And that's sort of what I was getting from Dan Campbell. So again, that leans back into him being the best new head coach hire over the last 5 years. And that's according to ESPN senior analyst Bill Barnwell. So we have to give Dan Campbell so much credit. And just remember where we were in the year 2020 compared to where we are now with this Lions team, and how far away from a championship we were in those years compared to how close we truly are now. And what 2026 could be with the few minor tweaks that we've laid out over the past several weeks and what we'll talk about in the offseason. It has a lot of positivity, and I'm going to continue to lean into that this Lions offseason. Robert says, bro, I think luck and timing play heavily into Super Bowl wins more than people are willing to admit. I agree with you, buddy. A lot of timing, a lot of luck, injury luck. I mean, look at the Patriots situation. And it's not luck. You got to do a lot of good things, and Vrabel's doing fantastic things with that organization, similar to what Dan Campbell is doing with Detroit. But they got a lot of luck this year with their schedule, with who and how they were able to face teams in the playoffs, going to Denver in those conditions, Bo Nix being out. So many things had to happen. And on the other side, Sam Darnold with a quarterback who a lot of pundits would tell you just would never win a big game, could not take a team to a Super Bowl, and he's doing it. And he's doing it because Mike McDonald and that whole staff knows how to get the best out of that offense and built an elite defense. That's really what it is. Jeff says, Dan is not holding us back. Brad needs to make a move. And they work in conjunction, but I agree with you. There needs to be a little more aggression this offseason. And then I think we're gonna see it. Don't know. So Sirianni continued a winning culture. MCDC created one. That's a good separation. It's a good way to kind of see the difference between the two. And maybe that's where Barnwell's coming from, in that piece. If Brad doesn't get a veteran center, he failed us. I really want to see him make a play for Linderbaum. The Linderbaum thing may be just because he wants to go elsewhere. I'm hearing the Giants could make a huge play for him with where Harbaugh went. So if that ends up playing out, then you could almost see why. But I think they need to call. They got to make an effort there. Keith says, I'm taking the Patriots to win and May to score a touchdown. I like that. I'm going to come out with my pick as we get a little bit closer to the Super Bowl. I'm not going to make that projection just yet. I'm kind of in between. I think it's going to be an interesting game. It's not a very exciting game. And I'll get into that down the road, but it's interesting. Excuse me. So one last topic for today. We talked about big decisions today. Lions are going to have to make a ton of big decisions when it comes to offseason priorities for their own players, for free agents. What do they need to do in the draft? And we're going to lay that out in future episodes. We're actually going to do mock drafts once we get away from the Super Bowl next Sunday. So I will post and advise when we'll do the live session with the mock drafts. That should be a lot of fun, and I want your guys' input on that. So definitely come back and see me for those. We talked about the Pistons and the potential trade market that's out there for them. Talked about the Giannis situation. We really hit on the Giannis situation pretty hard. We also talked about the Tigers and what they're going to do with Tarik Skubal and that arbitration and what decision will be made there. So today was all about big decisions. But before we leave today, I need some other help in making some decisions because on Monday morning, very, very early, me and my wife will be flying from upstate New York out of Albany International Airport to Cancun, Mexico. To an all-inclusive, the Riviera Hideout Resort. I think I might be saying that wrong. But it looks to be a fantastic resort. I've never been to Cancun. I don't go on many tropical vacations. The last one I had was my honeymoon, and that was 15 some odd years ago. My son, who's now 9 years old, ever since he's been born, life's really been about him. And obviously we've been on small family vacations and some little stuff with the three of us and with other family and things like that, going back to Michigan to see family. But this is the first time in a very long time that me and my wife will be getting away to an all-inclusive, adults-only resort in Cancun, Mexico. So what I'm hoping to get from you guys is some tips and tricks. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you've went to Cancun, Mexico, but have you been to an all-inclusive? Have you been to Mexico? Because if you have, that really helped me out. Have you been to Mexico? Have you been to an all-inclusive? Have you been to a tropical destination? And if so, give me the tips and tricks. What do I need to know? What do I need to bring with me? What can't I forget to bring with me? What should I leave home? What do I need to be ready for, to look out for? I need to know it all. I'm not a great traveler. I'm a horrible flyer. I'll say that right up front. I'm a terrible flyer. It's not always been the case, but over the course of my life, as I've gotten older, I've been worse and worse on planes. Guys, I'm a disaster in the airport. I don't know what it is. So I'm not trying to fix that. I'm not asking you for that. Believe me, there's a lot of things, and I have some special formulas for this trip, which we're going to give a shot at too. We're going to give a shot at, so I don't freak out in the airport. I suck at flying, guys. I can't do it. I don't know what it is. I mean, I do know what it is. I'm not going to say it out loud because it just makes things worse, but I'm not good in the airport. So like already starting there. So any good tips and tricks you have for maybe that, but more so once I get there, because that's what I'm looking forward to the most is the actual destination. Detroit Fan Man says, after Linderbaum, there really isn't viable OC vets. It's scary. Well, nobody's going to come close to Linderbaum. And give me a minute here, Detroit fan, man. I'll give you a couple other names. Jeff says, my son has a Seahawks winning. He's 100% on his picks for ESPN. I like that. I should be hitting you up before I make my FanDuel picks every weekend then, Jeff, is what you're saying. Rob's got Seattle over New England. Don't know says, free agency in the draft is my jam. I've been reading everything I can get my hands on about the Shrine game this past week to scout a little. I love it. Don't know, Grit. You know what we should do, buddy? Matt, what we should do is plan to get you back on the show. The week I get back from Cancun is going to be a little crazy, and I don't want to shortchange a show that I bring you onto. So maybe Thursday when I come back, but let me touch base with you when I get back from Cancun. We'll either do that or the following week, Tuesday. We'll figure out, and I don't want to mess up your schedule, so keep doing your thing, and we'll see how we can work together on that following week. But very soon, let's get you back on the show. There we go. Okay. So, yeah. So, talking Cancun. Keith says, I ruined my chances to leave the States. Uh-oh, buddy. That seems like a long story. Don't know. Says, the last vacation I went on was Green Bay, Wisconsin. Let that settle in. Well, you said your wife's a Packers fan, so it makes sense. You got to go back to Wisconsin. I'm assuming that's why. Not as tropical as where I'm heading, so a little different, but I get it. But something you got to prep for. Drink on the airplane. Rob would be drinking before the airplane, on the airplane, after the airplane. But that's not necessarily the magic juice I'm referring to, but that'll be part of it. That might be that'll help along the other formula I'm referring to. Johnny, shut your phone off and enjoy your time. You work, go simple, shorts, sands, and remember she lets you do this. Yeah, Jeff, I appreciate it. I mean, that's the thing. I do got to kind of R&R a little bit, like we all do. And this isn't a braggy thing, and I hope everybody gets a chance to take their time and do it however you need to do it. I, over the past few days, have been like really worried about, my content. I'm not gonna be able to make content and post, and I'm worried about I can't go live. And you know what, guys, for a week, it's just going to be what it's going to be. I do have some pre-planned content I'm going to put out there for the week, and I actually plan on posting at location. I think actually as I get a couple alcoholic drinks in me, I might just get a little confident to throw the camera on a little bit and see what we can do. So be on the lookout for that. There could be some fun stuff coming out of there, but I'm not going to stress over it because I really want to take some time to myself and relax. Jeff says, my son's name is Caden. Who do you think we draft? Tell Caden I said, what up? My son's name is Jackson. It's funny, Jeff, I think a couple things need to play out here before I give any draft predictions. One is what happens with Taylor Decker, because the tackle situation is a big deal for what they do in the first round of the draft. If Taylor Decker retires or is not coming back, then I think it is of utmost importance that they take the best offensive lineman they can, whether it be a tackle or guard or center, in the first round. But if he doesn't retire, I think it opens up your options. So that's where I would kind of leave that conversation today. But going back to Cancun, a couple things that I was told. Number one was don't drink the tap water. So I don't know if anybody has experience in that, but I'll try to stay away from the tap water. My wife says we'll have bottled water, and obviously the mixed drinks typically are filtered water, so that's usually okay. Your wife is a saint. Give her your time. We will live. Oh yeah, she's very supportive of this whole thing, and she'll support even me posting while I'm there. She's fantastic. Her name is Sandy. She is my everything. And yeah, do not drink the tap water. That's it. Don't know. That's why I keep hearing over and over again. I was also told, if I can, to avoid the taxis. Don't take a taxi anywhere. That's not really what we plan on doing. I believe the airport will have a shuttle to and from, so we really shouldn't have to take a taxi. But I was told that is not a good idea. Told to use airport transfers rather than. So yeah, Robert, happy wife, happy life is a true to life statement. It is. When I first heard that when I was like 18 years old, I laughed it off, but that is the most true thing in the world, man. That's so true. Stay hydrated. I mean, that's the most obvious tip I've ever been given, but like, it's funny. I'm not a huge drinker. Now, back in the college days and younger Johnny Gaz, when I was 21 to 27, somewhere in there, I would tie one on because it was never one drink then. It was always a party. I was never like an alcoholic or had to drink every day, but when I would drink, I would drink. You know what I mean? So like things would get a little fun. The next day would never be fun. Now later in life, I'm 40 years old, and I really don't drink often at all. 1 or 2 drinks usually put me over the top. So what worries me a little bit is that the fun in the sun and, the tropical drinks, I mean, they hit a little bit differently. And after 3 or 4 of those, all of a sudden, for me, I'm going to be toasted. So I got to remember to take it easy. I can't get excited after a couple and feel okay. I'm like, oh, this is great. It's a couple more. And then all of a sudden, that's just blotto blackout. Matter of fact, we don't want to bring up that story. And be aware of ice. Make sure they aren't using tap water for that. That's a good point. I did hear that too. Don't know. Now, I believe the resort has already indicated anything that they put into a glass that's poured is filtered, but I will check on that. Because you're right. You don't think about the ice side of things usually. Yeah, Rob, you guys are gonna be fine. No worries. Don't worry about us. We will serve without you for a week. Love you, brother. I love you too, man. I know you didn't mean that disrespectfully. There's so much good content out there. Go check out Don't Know Grit for a week. He's got definitely good stuff for you there. Dan at Lions Talk Live. He's there every morning. You got good people out there still doing what they're doing. Okay. Well, this is interesting. Let's bring this to the table. A gerbil is trapped in my boyfriend's butt and can't get out. Should he keep feeding it milk with a medicine dropper or just let it starve to death? It depends. Is he enjoying his time? And that could be a question for the gerbil or your boyfriend. Because if either one of those answers are yes, then you get that medicine dropper and you feed that gerbil some milk. Otherwise, I'm calling PETA. So, your choice. Good to have you, Taro. Detroit fan, man, it's always better to have already applied the sunblock. That's another one that I think is easily forgotten. And I've done that before. I went to a Florida wedding from one of my cousins. It was kind of a quick trip there and back. And you think, I'm not going to be out in the sun that long. I fried the top of my head. Like the top of my head was the most sunburn I've ever. And I'm thinking like my hair, I wear hats a lot, but I didn't wear a hat for a wedding, obviously. And it burned the shit out of my head. So having the sunscreen on applied to those areas you don't think you need it, you got to get that on. I mean, if both he and the gerbil, that's what I mean. Both he and the gerbil could be having a great time. We don't know. I think it's more important is to talk to the gerbil. My boyfriend's testicles were bitten off by a camel recently. Should I marry him when he wakes up from his coma or marry his identical twin brother whose testicles are in pretty good shape? Interesting. Taro, you bring some interesting questions to the table, and I like that. I like that from you. Appreciate you getting involved in the chat. Guys, it's been a fun night. We are well over an hour. We usually try to keep it to an hour here on Johnny Gaz Sports, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Unfortunately, next week, again, I will not be live. I will be in Cancun, Mexico. There will be content. It could be as simple as a few pictures. It could be a post from down by the pool in Cancun. It could be Mount Rushmore. The Mount Rushmore of Detroit Lions, Pistons, Tigers, Red Wings. So there's going to be some fun stuff that week, and I want to make sure you guys stay involved. Come back and see me the following week. I'll be back with more lives. Hopefully we'll have Don't Know Grit on one of the future episodes, and we'll be talking Lions, Pistons, Red Wings, a little bit of everything. Let's check back in our Pistons before we wrap up this live. Suns are unfortunately still in control of this basketball game. I have approaching 2 minutes left to go in the third quarter. Suns up 91-77. Cade Cunningham now leading Detroit with 24 points. JD with 10 rebounds. Cunningham again with 7 assists. Again, the Pistons trailing 91-77 at Phoenix. So once we get off the live here, we'll jump over and finish up watching the rest of Pistons basketball. But again, I appreciate all you guys for being in the chat. Taro, Detroit Fan Man, Don't Know Grit, Robert Murphy, Rob Jackson, Jeff, Keith was involved. I really appreciate you guys. Everyone and anyone that's been involved with Johnny Gaz Sports. It's been a fantastic ride, and it will continue to be. We're going to have a fantastic offseason with the Lions. We're in the middle of a great season for Red Wings and Pistons, so we got a lot going on. And as we get closer and closer to baseball season, we'll have so much to talk about with the Tigers. So anything you could need Detroit sports, make sure to check out at Johnny Gaz Sports on any one of your socials. Again, this is all personal from me, my love of Detroit sports. Nothing AI created, nothing run by ChatGPT. It's all me, it's all you, it's all us, and it's all Detroit sports all the time. Thank you guys so much for being involved in another live. I will see you guys very soon. More than anything else, take care of yourself and your mental health. Do something good for yourself or someone around you. I really appreciate you guys. I'm sure other people appreciate you. Have a good rest of your week. I appreciate you, Robert. Thank you so much. Jeff, thank you. Don't know. You the man. I really, really appreciate you guys. All right. Everybody have a fantastic evening. I will see y'all very soon.